So thank you
Cool.
everyone for joining us for this week's Thursday 30. We've got Bob Sagoo from Pretorian Technologies with us, and Bob's going to talk to us about switch access and appliance control. If you've got any questions for Bob, you can type them into the chat and we'll go through them at the end of the session. So thank you, and over to you, Bob.
Right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for jumping on today. We're going to be covering switch access solutions, and we're going to be covering a number of the solutions that Pretorian do, and there are a few. And we're going to look at switches, and we look at switch interfaces as such, and then hopefully, if I can get the camera to switch over, which it just did a second ago, I can show you some different sort of examples of configurations that you can use switches as it were. So moving forward. Oops, hang on, that didn't work. Okay, just a little bit of information about switch access technology. I'm assuming a lot of you are already familiar with switches and what they do, as it were. But yeah, you've got. So I'll just pitch my camera over because I've not got a face for TV. I got a face for radio.
Bob, we like to see your face.
This is something I will talk about at some point. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this little PowerPoint, and then I'm going to show you some key things that I've got set up. But this particular product is something that is a preview, as it were. But I'll switch it back to me actually. Yeah. So let's have a look. So yeah. So you can utilize switches in a number of different ways for access to software, communication devices, so eye gaze devices and so forth, but also battery operated toys and appliances as well. So there's a lot of access options that you can utilize with switches. Switch interfaces, which are essentially, if you're not familiar with, that's a switch interface. And that is basically allows you to either connect to a computer or connect to a particular sort of interface, be it it could be a device that's if you're mounted on a wheelchair, for example, you can use an interface to connect to use a switch to connect to, say, let's say an iPad with Applicator, for example, or like with Freedom, which is another one of our switch interfaces, you can control multiple devices from a single switch, and that's where sort of switch interfaces. So you have switches and you have switch interfaces. So very briefly, I'm going to skip through this because we haven't got a huge amount of time. Just a bit of general information about Pretorian and what we do and who we are. This is what we do, and so we have one of the largest ranges of AT products in, I'd say, in this sector. We are an OEM, so we actually design and manufacture all of the solutions that you see there, which is quite a statement, given that we're not the biggest of companies, but we do provide a number of different sort of solutions. So you've got the mouse alternatives there. What we're going to be talking today about switches, both wired and wireless, switch interfaces. We've got appliance controllers there, AAC with regards to communication, our wireless solutions, which is Simply Works, and environment, and the Kenzonetic learning, which I'll show you a bit of a preview on that as well. So yeah, quite a very extensive range, and we're adding to it all the time. These are some of the sort of like how can I put it? These are the sort of like the guidelines. This is in the DNA of Pretorian, basically. So all of our solutions are plug and play. There's no driver software needed. Not necessarily sort of like applicable to switches and switch interfaces, but it's a characteristic that follows all the way through Pretorian's range of products. They're designed for this sector. They're designed for assistive technology. So we make sure the construction and the design works for the individuals that need to access our solutions. It's weird saying about stable connectivity and saying wired, but it is important with a wired solution that the cable is is robust enough to be used in a fashion where and day in day out, month in month out for a number of years. So stable connectivity with regards to wired means that the cabling is of a high quality. The socket, which is and the actual plug, which is the 3.5mm jack, which is here, which is industry standard, is robust enough to be used in the way that it needs to be. This is more applicable to the switch interfaces, but we've put we're trying to build in rechargeable power sources in our switch interfaces. At the moment, they're just normal disposable cells, but with a power saving mode that's been designed into these solutions, it means that the battery life is just off the chart, as it were. There's power down modes which are automatically built engineered in as well, which really do mean that the devices, if you could leave them in a drawer for a month or so, I come back to it, switch them on, they'll work straight away. Great from that perspective. Not so great when you're demonstrating, because the power saving modes do sort of kick in, means that I have to keep waking up some of our devices when I'm doing demonstrations. But that's a nice issue to have, as it were. And we're inspired by you, inspired by our users, so that's really important to us. So moving on. These are our range of assistive switches. So not a great picture. I do apologize for that, but I just wanted to give you an overview of what our range is. We've got wired, we've got wireless, we've got switches that work with on the iOS platform. We've got switches that give you computer access as well. So we do have a wide range of assistive switches. So if I start with the smoothie switches, which are essentially, this is our smoothie switch. And you can see it's a very low profile switch. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to that. So, and you've got the curve on the activation surface. So you actually have an activation, sorry, just trying to get that in line. You have an activation point on the very edge of the device through to the center and all the way around. So great if you've got an individual that maybe doesn't have the motor skills to actually move their hand or too much. You can have the slightest of movements to activate on the very edge of the device. Sorry. It's all the way in the middle. And I like the fact that it's curved in that way, so it gives you that uniform activations all over the entire surface, as it were. The flat solutions are great, but sometimes if you're hitting the edge of the device, you don't often get that activation. It's more in the center or the center sort of mass areas where that you get that clean activation. With the smoothie switches, it's all the way along. And there's two versions. There are wired, which I've got here. And we've got the wire on the end, which has got, these are shortened cables I have a demonstration, but you get a good sort of meter, as it were, if not more, meter and a half of length of cable on it. Or you have the wireless version, which is the Simply Works version, which has got the ability to program it to do different sort of activations. Could be for gamepad or for computer access, or just for utilizing with our switch interfaces. So wired and wireless. Smoothies are available. The wireless has a 10-meter range, which doesn't sound a great deal, but you're talking through, that'll work through ceilings and such. I had a setup for my son Harch where he was able to access the iClick, which is our mains appliance controller that was in his bedroom, from the ground floor of the house. So he'd actually have control over a lamp that he would activate by pressing the smoothie switch. That would switch the lamp on. He'd go up in his lift, up into his bedroom, transition into his bed, do any piece that needs to be done, and it would be on a timed mode. So after about 40 minutes, it would switch off on its own. Sounds really straightforward, but for an individual that can't operate a light switch and so forth, this was incredibly empowering and gave him, it gives the individuals the control over the environment. But that worked through the ceiling, so that was really cool. So yeah, 10-meter range, but it does work really well. And it has power saving mode built into it as well. So very, very long battery life. And these take the small coin batteries, the 2032s, I think they are, but they come with the actual device. So we make sure anything that has a battery like that does come with it when it's sent out, as it were. So smoothie switches, they come in two sizes. Obviously, this is 75mm, smaller size. Whoops. And then we have the 125mm, which is the large size. The profile is very similar. So really sort of like a low profile switch. Okay, moving on. We have the Simply Works range of switches. So we have the wireless switches, but we do them in sets as well. So the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the Simply Works switch set, which is two switches are 75 mil Simply Works switches, and a Receive 2, which is allows you to gives you then computer access. So we do a package like that. We've also got the Simply switch interface, which is the picture on the left hand side, which allows you to plug any switch. And here's an important aspect with switches, wide switches in particular. What I just showed you with regards to the plug at the end, sorry, that's an industry standard 3.5 mil jack. I have seen in certain areas environmental control where there is slightly different, but as far as switch access and normal wide switches, 3.5 mil is the industry standard. So the Simply Switch interface just gives you sort of simple and a very cost-effective switch access utilizing two switches. And you've got settings there for space and enter, left to right click, F7, F8, and gamepad 1 and 2. So any switch-enabled software, you could utilize the simple switch interface with some switches, and you've got access to computer access. The Pretorian switch is the purple one. That is a really specialized switch with regards to what it can do. It's really great for individuals that have low forearm strength and use what's called switch filtering. That is a presentation in itself. I've done an hour-long presentation on the USB switch, but for more information I'd look at the website or reach out to me and I can take you through it. But it's a really unique switch that is a great solution for individuals with poor forearm strength. And a test is really straightforward. That is just a device that allows you to test whether a switch works. So you plug a switch into the top of it here and you'll see a neon light on. Oops. And if I switch the switch, I get an activation. And that's just a way of testing that switch is working okay, and a useful thing to have in your kit, as it were. iSwitch, which is a really sort of flexible Bluetooth switch device. It basically incorporates everything that you need into one switch. So you've got Bluetooth connectivity, and this is multi-platform. That'll work on a MacBook, an iOS, iPad. It'll work on a Windows computer. It'll work on an Android device as well. So it is truly multi-platform. And what that basically allows you to do is you can program the switch to a number of different functions. I'll go and grab mine, which is actually on charge. So bear with me. So, and if I show you, it's pairing at the moment. Oops. So you've got a list of different options here. You've got two switch imports, so you can actually plug in two additional switches if you wish. So you can actually access essentially three switches, including the main switch. But you have the ability to just to run through some of the things. You've got keystrokes on there. You've got the ability for cursor control, but also in iSwitch, which you might not be able to make out. This section here is left click, right click, double click. So, and all you need to do essentially is just to select the mode of which you wish the iSwitch to do, and it'll replicate that. I've done iSwitches with computer control, even with eye gaze devices, where individuals have switched off dwell click and just use their eye gaze to scan and then hit the switch to select whatever cell they've wished to select. So it's a really nice, really intuitive, really easy device to actually set up and to implement. But yeah, iSwitch is a great solution for switch access for computer access. And yep, now comes with mouse clicks. I'm trying to go through these at a bit of pace because I know we're really pressed for time. Okay, new switches. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. So I had one new switch here. This is our proximity switch called Toffee. It hasn't been launched. This is the only production model, pre-production model available at the moment, and I've got it, and I'm not giving it up. Even though the guys in the office keep sending me to send it back to because they need it. I said, no, I'm hanging on to this one. We are launching this in, I believe, end of September, beginning of October. This has, if I just boot it up, it has a variable proximal range. So I'm hoping you might be able to see the activation. Yeah, so it's activated now. Oops. Yeah, it's picking up the camera. So you wouldn't be able to hear the click, but there is a click, an audible click as well to let you know when it is activated. This particular device is got a variable proximal range from 0 to 150 mil. And sorry, yes, no, it's 0 to 500 mil, not 150 mil. You've got a range that you can through operating this little red button at the bottom. Sorry, I'm trying to get this done at the same time. You've got LED display. You can go through all the different proximal range settings up to 9, which is, it's picking me up because it goes from 0 to 500 mil. So a really, really versatile solution. We're really excited about Toffee because we think that this is really with how it works with regards to one shot, which is a mode where if you've got someone who brings their hand across quickly or doesn't have the control, it'll activate once, and if they bring their hand across, it won't activate again after a time delay has passed, as it were. And that's variable as well. You've got manual and automatic powering off, and again, it just ends in a 3.5mm jack, so you can plug it into any switch interface or switch enabled toy and utilize it in whichever way you want. And it has different modes for latched, on off. So it's a really versatile solution, and it's USB-C. Oh, sorry, USB-C rechargeable. So it utilizes USB-C rather than USB or a mini USB. So really, really, really quick overview on Toffee. The other switches we're bringing out a 50mm version of the iSwitch, so a smaller version of the iSwitch, which would be 50mm, and then we're bringing out a smoothie, which won't be Bluetooth, it'll be a wired 50mm smoothie switch as well. So it'll be 3 products that we're coming out in very quick succession later on in the year. So watch out for the website, watch out for our social media feeds. You'll see that information start to filter through over the next sort of I say probably end of this month. You'll start to see that information start to filter through. Switch interfaces, this is what these are, and to a certain degree this is as well. So those are 2 switch interfaces that we do, control and send. And we have a wide range of various sort of switch interfaces. Applicator. So my guess in this one might be fairly familiar with individuals. Applicator and iSwitch are essentially the same product. Just the applicator, you plug in switches at the top of the device, so wired switches into this device, and then this is a Bluetooth switch interface that allows you to connect to an iPad, a Windows, a computer, and also an Android device, and so forth. iSwitch does everything, but it's also a switch as well. So these 2 products are very sort of similar. What you have with Applicator is the ability to access things like on the iOS element, you can access quick media, you can access, for example, navigate your way around using switch control in iOS to gosh, it's relatively limited as to what you can effectively do with Applicator, but a really good solution for access, in particular to the iPad, which it's been optimized for. But iPad Applicator and iSwitch are essentially the same product, do exactly the same function. You've got the same options on the back as you have on the iSwitch as far as what you can access and do. Gosh, I'm really going through this at a rapid pace, so if I'm losing you, I do apologize. Let's have a look. Applicator Max is his bigger brother, and what that does is it allows you to connect to multiple devices. So you can utilize a set of switches to operate a number of different devices. They could be, for example, an iPhone, an iPad, or a computer, and you can switch between those. So you can have a set of switches configured to a single device, but multiple levels. So you can have those switches will do different things on one device, or if you want to operate multiple devices, you can utilize the Applicator Max to control multiple devices. 9 times out of 10, the Applicator Max, the applicator is the applicator you're going to go for, but the Applicator Max is for switch users that want that much more access. Send is this particular device here. Really simply, it turns a wired switch into a wireless switch. And you have send and send 6. So there's the input for a wireless for a switch, and send 6 allows you to connect up to 6 switches. And if I show you really simply what it does, I'm going to connect this. This is control, and this is basically a transmitter. So what that does is that you can connect up to, a receiver. So you can connect up to 6 transmitters. Transmitters can be a wireless switch, a joystick, a send unit. You can connect to 6 different devices, 6 different transmitters to one receiver. So at the moment, this is on latch mode at the moment. I know this has already been paired. So if I connect, just let's say I've got a grass switch, plug it into the send, I'll bring it in what it's connected to, which is a light. So there's a send. It's connected to, oops. It's connected to this grass switch. Now, my light is a bit faulty, I'm afraid. So you've got assistive switches, your normal wired switches. You can utilize send to turn any wired switch into a wireless switch. So to give you another example of something else you can do with control, so you can connect up to 6 different switches. So let's go on to controls around that now. So I could connect 2 smooth talker switches, simply work switches, kinetic, which is this simply work switch, which is a tap switch. I'll put that on. And I also have a smoothie switch here, which is so I can connect up to 6 switches to one control. And which means if in an activity where you've got, if it's a classroom activity, you've got a number of different individuals that want to access that particular activity, they can do that utilizing a switch, utilizing, if it's an assistive switch, be it a grass switch, a leaf switch, even a sip and puff switch. As long as they've got a 3.5mm end to it, you can plug it into the send switch interface, and that will give you, turn that assistive switch, which is wired, into a wireless switch, and it'll work with control. Oh, I'm getting close to time. I do apologize. I'm going at a fair rate of knots. I've already covered kinetic, which is the this switch here, which works on a tap or tilt mode. If you need any more information, that I'm happy to sort of go through that in a bit more detail. But what this can do is phenomenal in the sense of activities you can put it in. I put this inside a bag, a pouch that you can take to the beach and put your phone in that keeps it dry. I put a kinetic in one of those, sealed it up, and put it on a flotation device. And individuals have used it in a hydrotherapy session by just tapping and activating a light at the side of the pool, or if it's connected to a computer, they can control the lights in the actual hydrotherapy session itself. So yeah, a really cool device and really useful to have. I haven't got TwinSlat with me, unfortunately, but TwinSlat basically is a simple switch interface that allows you to control battery applied powered toys or appliances. And you've got SLAT stands for switch, latch, and timer. So those three modes you can access, and you can apply two toys in, and it's great for cooperative play and cooperative activities where users can interact with each other when they're doing an activity. It has a timed mode as well, which is great for playing music as such. If you have a connected to a musical device, as it were, it's great for doing that. And we put that in because new toys have different the electronics have changed somewhat, and they respond to a pulse as opposed to just a normal activation. So TwinSlat is a great interface for utilizing toy appliance control with one or two toys, as it were. Freedom. We're getting close to time. Freedom essentially is similar to what you do with Applicator Max. It allows you to control multiple devices. So you have the ability to utilize one switch and to switch between. If I just show you now. I can switch between all three devices, and the outputs are here at the bottom. So I can utilize a switch and use that single switch to navigate between four different devices and operate them and access them. So Freedom's, and it's USB powered, but also it can be powered from a power connection from a powered wheelchair as well. So yeah, Freedom is more sort of essentially for multiple devices that have been switch enabled to give you access over them. That could be like access to an applicator, for example, where you can be able to control using a single switch, access an applicator, or access a device that's been switch enabled. It could be a fan, it could be a light or something on a chair. So that's Freedom. And oops. Oh, we've already got the live demo. We've already done that. And great. I've gone through this really in a rapid way because I know time's pressing. I normally do this about an hour and a half. I've tried to do it in about, under half an hour. So it's not the best of sort of ways of doing things. But has anyone got any questions that they'd like to fire my way?
Can't see any questions, Bob, but I think it is quite a lot to take in, especially if you aren't familiar with switches. But I was going to say, if anybody on the call wants me to put them in touch with Bob, I know you've got the email address there, but yes, they can either come to me and I can put them in touch, or you can use that.
I'm more than happy, as Annabelle and everybody at CENMAC will say, to do one-to-one with you or a group of be it teachers and therapists and so forth. That works out in a really good way because we can go through things in a less hectic sort of manner. But what I'm trying to do today is say that there are so many different options with regards to switch access and be it switch interfaces, assistive switches, and it's certainly something to look at. I mean, something else. I'm not going to go into the detail. This is an interface that allows an eye gaze user to access a switch enabled appliance or toy, and the way it works is it utilizes infrared capability in an eye gaze solution and allows you to then access using your device any sort of switch enabled appliance or toy. So if you think of an activity in a classroom where you've got a switch user and an eye gaze user, they wouldn't be able to do an activity together. Certainly the eye gaze user wouldn't be able to take part in a switch enabled activity. With this particular device, which is the IR toy controller, you can do that, and that is any eye gaze device, be it a Tobii Dynavox, Smartbox, or an Accent Liberator device as well. So yeah.
Well, it's great to know that there are so many ways of controlling the environment, isn't it? So Bob, we are right on 4 o'clock. Leia's just a very helpful presentation. Anyway, as I said, Bob, I'll put you in touch with anybody who might come to me. The other
Yeah.
thing I was thinking is it might be useful to have like, I don't know, maybe a top 10 of like what would maybe be the top 10 devices or switches that people might use or something like that, just in a, I don't know, in a single page or something like that, that, you know, for people who aren't that familiar with switches, that might be a useful handout or something to put up
Yeah.
with the recording.
What I can do
Um,
is I can put something together which is just some simple sort of switch solutions, utilizing just a couple of products. And if it would help anybody who's joining today, if you want some example activities that you can do, it's not a problem. I can put that together for you. If I send that through to yourself, Anna, if you want to distribute that, I can get it out. Well, work on it today. I can get it out to you later on today, if not tomorrow, and then
Great.
it can be
I can
fresh in
put it
everybody's
up on
mind.
the website with the recording, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
cool.
right. Well, we might leave it there then, Bob. Thanks so much, because I know you've had a very busy week, and I will probably see you again soon. And thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. If you do have a question for Bob, you can send it to me or just contact Bob directly. All right then.
No
Thank
worries.
you. Bye,
Take care.
everybody.
Bye. Bye.